Today, only 35% of people still think it's important to have a religious element in their funeral, the final sacred human threshold, and 2/3 of us are abandoning tradition. If we step back to 2001, 64% of us valued religion, and a matching 64% trusted the clergy. They were the undisputed gatekeepers of meaning. Today, trust in religious leaders has plummeted to an all-time low of 27%. Many call it cultural tragedy or moral decay. But I see something else entirely. It's not a symptom of illness, it's a liberating shift. We haven't lost our appetite for meaning. We are realizing we don't need a gatekeeper to hand it to us. Which brings us to one of the most painfully honest scenes in modern cinema. They're late, they're loud, and they're not dressed for the occasion. The priest then admits,
I did not know Leslie personally.
it's as if he's reading off note cards.
I understand that she was a loving mother. They told me that she also loved gardening.
But watch what happens when the father, Ben, takes the pulpit.
First of all, Leslie practiced Buddhism. Leslie abhorred all organized religions. To her, they were the most dangerous fairy tales ever invented, designed to elicit blind obedience and strike fear into the hearts of the innocent and the uninformed. To her, the only thing worse than death would have been the knowledge that her rotting flesh was to be trapped for all eternity inside a big box and buried in the middle of a fucking golf course.
He then shares his wife's plans, her wishes for her own funeral.
Wish to be cremated. My funeral, such as it is, shall be a celebration with music and dancing. After, it is my express desire that my ashes shall be taken to a nondescript location, preferably public and heavily populated, at which point my ashes probably be flushed down the nearest toilet.
Today, we're talking about how we don't have to hand over our most sacred moments to professional strangers. Welcome to the Altarless Traveler, a space for the spiritually curious, the questioners, and the deconstructors. Many who have stepped away from organized religion are caught in a ritual vacuum. When a loved one dies, we still default to the professional stranger.
Do you mind a prayer?
I do not.
It's a classic trope for a reason, like that scene in the TV show The Madison. The pastor delivers a beautifully generic sermon for a dead husband. The cadence is perfect, the intention is good, but look at the family. They know it, and we know it. This man, while kind, clearly did not know their father, the man he is eulogizing.
Oh, man. If anyone would like a word.
Stacy, it's not the first time you've given that speech.
No, ma'am.
It's a good one.
We trade emotional honesty for a polished performance because the silence of not knowing feels terrifying.
Wait, that's it? That's it? He doesn't need to say it, then say it, Paige.
Enter the modern funeral home, which has essentially become a theological chameleon. They will be whatever religion you need them to be, provided the check clears. On Tuesday, they hang the crucifix for a traditional Catholic Mass, and on Thursday, they swap it out for a bare pulpit for a Baptist service. By Saturday, they roll out the indoor ferns and fair trade candles because a family requested something spiritual but not religious. It's a retail space performing sacred rituals on a loop. We spend a lifetime on a deeply personal spiritual journey, only to hand the destination over to a corporate venue that operates on the Burger King have it your way model, swapping out the symbols to order. But this is exactly where the hope comes in. We are actively moving past a Mad Libs eulogy. We are rejecting the one-size-fits-all template that attempts to reduce an entire human existence down to a blank form letter. The data shows a massive generational shift toward celebrations of life over rigid religious liturgies. These are photos from my father's own celebration of life. Unlike a traditional funeral, a celebration of life centers on the unique joy of the person's journey rather than sadness and their departure. So much is changing, and I encourage you not to fear these changes, but to embrace them. In 1970, only 5% of Americans chose cremation. Today, that number has cleared 63%, and the industry projects it will top 82% by the time the next generation inherits the earth. And not surprisingly, a record 61.4% of Americans now express strong interest in exploring green funeral options. The number of eco-certified burial grounds in the U.S. is rapidly growing. Combined with the huge surge in intentional pre-planning, people are deciding how they want to remember the deceased and how they want to be remembered themselves. People are mapping out every detail ahead of time: custom music playlists, storytelling formats, secular venues, and precise instructions on how their remains return to the earth. We're finally trading a rented generic script for the messy, beautiful, and comforting truth of who we actually were. This disconnect isn't new. We've just been conditioned to ignore the weirdness of it. Growing up in my hometown of Ranger, Texas, we had one funeral home, Killingsworth. I attended several funerals there as a kid, but I didn't think twice about the name. It wasn't until I got a bit older that the linguistic irony finally hit me. Killingsworth, like, what's the net worth of a killing? Turns out, the funeral industry has a fascinating, totally unintentional habit of dark comedy when it comes to funeral branding. If you search the internet, you realize the Killingsworth brothers aren't alone. You've got Slaughter and Son in Chicago, Bruce and Stiff in Virginia, the Cease Funeral Home in Minnesota, the Boxwell brothers in Texas, think about that, and my personal favorite, Am I Gone in New York, literally pronounced Am I Gone. We laugh because humor is the only coping mechanism we have left when the infrastructure of death feels detached from the reality of losing someone. Which brings us back to the end of Captain Fantastic. First, they, to what in their minds is, rescue their mother's body from that unchosen church cemetery. They take her to her favorite spot in the world and build a pyre out of raw timber under an open sky. No polished mahogany, no velvet-lined viewing rooms, no rented organ music, and they say goodbye. Instead of a traditional hymn sung by a choir of strangers, the kids pull out acoustic instruments and start singing Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine.
Everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky.
Look at that. It is messy, it is entirely unauthorized, and it is undeniably holy. They didn't outsource their grief to a broker. They did the heavy, beautiful lifting themselves. And when they finally fulfill her ultimate wish, flushing her ashes down a bustling airport terminal toilet, it feels less like an insult and more like a triumphant final joke shared between people who actually knew each other's hearts. We don't need a professional stranger to validate our lives or our losses. The meaning isn't found in the flawless delivery of a rented professional. It's found in the honest, unfiltered community we build along the way. Your story is yours to write, all the way to the final page. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever sat through an uncomfortable funeral? How do you want to celebrate the death of those you love? If this conversation brought a new perspective, please like, subscribe, or drop a comment. I'm Andrew. This is the Altarless Traveler. I'll see you down the road. Thank you.